In the 1950s, the KGB destroyed a state-of-the-art invention for fear of the chaos it could have on the Soviet Union. The engineer who had designed it, Vladimir Fridkin, had not created a deadly virus or a nuclear bomb, but what the KGB feared was a photocopier that allowed one to make copies of articles from foreign journals and basically enabled the free flow of information. This anecdote sounds insane today, yet for Andrei Soldatov and Irina Borogan, the authors of The Red Web, The Struggle Between Russia's Digital Dictators and the New Online Revolutionaries, the fate of Fridkin's photocopier is an indication of the mentality that drives the Kremlin's crackdown on the internet. My name is Shirvan and welcome to a review for the bookshelf. Soldatov and Borogan are veteran investigative journalists who specialize in the history of espionage and technology. The authors have examined the Russian intelligence agencies since the start of their careers in the 1990s, and they have written extensively about the struggle over cyberspace between entrepreneurs, politicians, oligarchs, dissidents, and hackers. Soldatov and Borogan are also the founders of the website agentura.ru, which is basically a Russian WikiLeaks that focuses on security and intelligence agencies. In essence, there are few who can match their knowledge in the realm of surveillance and cybersecurity. In The Red Web, the authors have meticulously researched the history of Russia's online communication and unveil a complex link between geopolitics and technology. The book explains that on the surface, media freedom in Russia has improved since the collapse of the Soviet Union. In truth, however, the government in Moscow uses unique methods of internet censorship that is distinct from the surveillance practices of other nations. The Red Web traces the history of internet censorship of post-Soviet Russia and how communication technologies enhanced over time. The central figure in the book is, of course, Vladimir Putin, who, for a short duration, served as the director of the FSB. In Chapter 4, the authors explain that in 1998, Putin compelled Russian internet service providers to install an invasive surveillance program into their server networks. This system, called the Sistema Operativno-Rozysknikh Meropриятий, better known by the acronym SORM, served as a backdoor to the country's internet communications. The authors of the book explain that SORM was predated and inspired by Soviet-era phone tapping systems, and to develop the modern system, the KGB enlisted the aid of dissident Lev Kopelev, who worked on speech recognition techniques in a prison lab near Moscow. It sounds like a story straight from James Bond, but with SORM, Russian intelligence agencies can monitor transmissions by email, Skype, etc. In this framework, the FSB's legal power go well beyond those of the American NSA. Although SORM shows just how exposed Russian users are, it is Putin's presidential policies that are most unsettling. Since his re-election in 2012 was met with mass protests, policymakers in Moscow became increasingly anxious about the internet as an American instrument to orchestrate color revolutions. Putin and his inner circle of security advisors decided to restore national sovereignty in cyberspace, just as they had done so with the federal television channels a decade earlier. As such, following Russia's seizure and annexation of Crimea in 2013, the government in Moscow asked Twitter to close the accounts of far-right Ukrainian parties, and Twitter complied. At the same time, Putin turned up the heat on other foreign social media platforms and signed a decree that requires global internet firms to store user data of Russian clients on local servers within the Russian Federation. This relocation would allow the FSB to expose the servers to SORM. Thereby, state bodies would gain the ability to monitor the behavior of Russians on foreign social media platforms. However, as is explained in the book, this endeavor still remains a challenge for the Russian government, as it is still in negotiations with Google, Twitter, and Facebook. In the meantime, Putin's government has sought to restrict the impact of social media by emitting and filtering content. The Federal Service for Supervision of Communications, Information Technology and Mass Media, better known as Roskomnadzor, blacklisted some websites of political opposition leaders, including the news portals of Garry Kasparov and Alexei Navalny. Furthermore, bloggers with more than 3,000 followers were required to register themselves in official ledgers. Yet, despite government efforts to gain the upper hand over the internet, activists continue to outsmart the intrusive surveillances. For instance, supporters of Navalny found ways to bypass the blockade, and when the government denied military presence in Ukraine, Russian soldiers exposed themselves by posting photos on VKontakte. Soldatov and Borogan use these examples to argue that the flow of information will always find new ways to bypass censorship. A more refined method of government control emerged in 2014. The Kremlin allocated a monthly budget of $1.2 million to the Internet Research Agency in an effort to create a troll factory, which was largely staffed by students from the St. Petersburg State University. The group was instructed not to mention Russia, but instead to focus on controversial topics like gun control and racial violence that would accelerate the polarization of the political landscape of the United States. The students made nearly double the average salary in Russia and devised algorithms to sow discord on platforms such as Facebook and Twitter, but also in the comments section of Western news outlets like The Guardian. They took cues from the House of Cards and studied America's fascination with conspiracies. Eventually, the Russian trolls posted as Americans and exploited the fault lines of American culture. How effective this really is and what the exact end goal is for the Russians remains unclear, but the Red Web is the best source on the Kremlin's cybersecurity that is available to the public. One more point that is heavily emphasized in the book is that further government attempts to control the internet is likely to damage Russia's tech-savvy industries. In an economy that is mostly dominated by energy companies, domestic brands such as the search engine Yandex, social media platform VKontakte, and security software Kaspersky Labs are rare achievements. But the success of these firms relies on vibrant and free internet access. In recent years, Yandex and VKontakte have come under pressure. In fact, Pavel Durov, the founder of VKontakte, which is more popular than Facebook in Russia, left the company after a bitter dispute with two pro-Putin billionaires. Another oligarch who has close ties to the Russian president is Alexander Mamut. He fired the editor of news outlet Lenta.ru after it published an interview with a Ukrainian nationalist leader. Similar stories that highlight the ongoing struggle between digital dissidents and the Russian surveillance services are plentiful throughout the book. Yet the point is, just as the KGB destroyed Fridkin's photocopier, government interference can also undo Russia's technology boom. Overall, the Red Web is an intriguing blend of history, politics, espionage, and technology. It is also a timely book, written by authors who belong to a rare group of investigative journalists operating within Russia. By the final chapter, one cannot help but think and speculate on the future of privacy, liberty, civil rights, as well as the general future of the internet. If you follow the Robert Mueller investigation, or if you're fascinated with Russia's cybersecurity, or even with whistleblowers like Edward Snowden, who is also notably covered in the book, the Red Web will greatly contribute to your knowledge. I purchased the book in early 2016, but the updated 2017 edition delves into the Russian interference in the United States elections. To gain access to the updated volume, I had to purchase the book twice, so be mindful to get the latest version, as it has additional content that you don't want to miss out. Now, if you do decide to acquire this book, check out our Amazon link in the description, which reveals our store on the website. items that are purchased there won't cost you extra, but it will give our channel some financial remittances. In any case, this was a review for the bookshelf. Check out our playlist for more recommendable sources. Also, special thanks to our top contributors on Patreon for helping to keep our channel independent and self-sustained. Visit patreon.com/CaspianReport for more information. For now, take care and Sarol.